Otherwise, they're just going to end up laughing.
Here we go. Inadequate, lacking the quality or quantity required. So not matching expectations. Can anybody think of anything that can be done inadequately? Steven.
Yeah, I can think of quite a few things.
Is there an argument that you still think about when you shower or sleep? Because ever since college started, I often feel stuck in the past. What I miss about home. I miss pizza with friends at our favorite restaurant. I miss seeing movies with people equally excited as I was. I miss talking with teammates, joking about teachers, my home, my pets, my grandma, the Minnesota weather. Actually, no, good riddance, but everything else, yes. Life could be overwhelming, but I miss it. I've struggled to adjust in Arizona and often lie the day away in my bed, thinking about the life I used to have, 1,500 miles away. But then longing turns to regret, reliving my worst conflicts, haunted about what I could have done better. Fortunately, I've recently taken a class with a teacher who has changed my perception on conflict.
So I always do this exercise with my students at the beginning of the semester. I'll have them come up with all these words to describe conflict. And undoubtedly, it's things like war, fighting, disagreement, all negative connotation. An image I always give my students is a chair, and I love yellow, so it's always a yellow chair. When conflict walks into your relationship, you say, come on in and have a seat. I was expecting you. You should be open to having that type of a relationship with conflict and not just trying to slam the door and hope it goes away, because it won't.
Far too often, conflicts end unresolved. Rather than sit and talk, people hang up the seats. Some bigger than others, and some have too many to count. But we need to take those seats and use conflict to strengthen our relationships rather than end them. In class, we were asked to think back on a past conflict, and my mind went to Coach Stoa. Cross country can create a diverse batch of students and dynamics that would not exist without the sport. It brought together a man well-versed in nearly every sport and a promising runner who was a speech kid at heart. He watches sports that I find confusing, and I watch movies that others tell me are confusing. Two different worlds of athletics and arts united by cross country. I ran hundreds of summer miles each year and was varsity as a 7th grader, but I never pushed myself during races. He always said I looked too comfortable and wanted me to reach my potential. Unaddressed anxiety made that hard. The closest I came to addressing it was with an actor playing him.
Some advice. I hear you're being mischievous like some of those 6th graders I teach.
Looking back, I find this awfully symbolic of how I approach problems. Not facing them directly, and using nonsense humor to avoid real emotions.
Because there's nothing I hate more than racism.
Surprisingly, this is not what caused our conflict. Rather, having minimal conversations made us grow distant throughout the years. As a result, my senior season ended with a horrible last race, frustrations over an Instagram post, and avoidance. As I was reflecting, I realized I still use the Ubuntu font for all my papers, something I picked up from my coach. And I thought back to advice he gave me.
And you know, you walk a mile in another person's shoes, you'll start to understand their perspective.
With his advice, I gave him a call with my idea to reconcile. First, bonding with him and spending a day in his shoes. Next, taking a seat to return to our conflict. Before finally, facing my fear of the track to metaphorically and literally go the extra mile. Perhaps what I miss most from home was my family. I know it's been hard for them, my mom especially, which has made it hard for me. I went through my first major life conflict with my mom. We're both stubborn, and back in junior high, we argued a lot. Eventually, I learned about her past, and we came out stronger. From then on, I started viewing everyone through a compassionate lens. I think back to movies I love, and live by messages in them.
There is always something to love.
Themes from films have changed how I approach every person, so I looked for the best parts of my coach, with memories of my friends.
Outside of my family, he's probably the primary adult that I've had in my life consistently. His belief that I can do well, I think, has really helped my confidence. I think that sometimes I struggle with my confidence, so having that has been really nice. And not just limited to running. In my academics and in my social interactions, he believes I can succeed, and he tells me that.
He liked me as a student. That's because I was a reader. I was a big reader, and I remember he was impressed with my vocabulary. I wasn't very self-confident, and Stoa hyped me up a lot. He has his favorites, and I think I was one of them in 6th grade.
As for me, I remember after a good race, we talked about the analytical side of myself, the part of me that's always thinking and running around doing something. He told me it was poor for race days, but would be helpful for my future. It made me appreciate that part of me that often gets in my way. And now, I get to apply it this week. I thought a good place to start would be where we first met. Before he was my coach, he was my 6th grade language arts teacher. Back when I was known as the quiet kid and didn't really have friends.
Hey, Steven.
Hey, Mr. Stoa.
How are you?
Good.
Welcome back to the tundra.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Do you wanna take a seat?
Yeah, sure. This is the time where I make the make me look slim joke. My parents are Janice and Tim Stoa. My dad's a minister, but he moonlighted as a basketball coach for a good extended part of that. And my mom, she was a Phi Ed and business major. She spent most of the time as a substitute teacher. And I lived in Thompson until through my 8th grade year. My dad left to take a call in Fargo. He was the person I was most angry with when we moved because, I wasn't ready to move. We're very similar, much like Brevin and I were. So if there was a person that I was going to get into it with in high school, it was going to be him. He handled most of it by, with the whole disappointment routine, which was good. It worked. If I needed help with something and it was up his alley, he was probably the first one to go to, 6 a.m., let's go to Perkins, let's talk and give me some advice. My mom was the worrier. Therefore, that meant he had no choice but to worry because she made him. He wasn't nearly as anxious as she was. She gave me that trait. She started coaching distance runners when I was a freshman so that there was somebody to help me out. And then she built into a coach that had an incredibly successful distance program. I played basketball. That was my first love. I made varsity as a sophomore, and then senior year was fully a part of the rotations. Coach Carnell was the reason that I shifted my focus towards education. He defended his players. He always had our backs. Working with kids was always something I wanted to do as well. Being able to potentially coach became the tiebreaker.
I talked to him about his life for 90 minutes, and then saw a side of him I hadn't seen in 7 years.
Inadequate is our word today. If you're asked to mow the lawn and you leave more mohawks than an 80s punk rock band, probably an inadequate job.
Every detail in Dad Joke gave me a sense of how he thinks. Like my own parents, he grew up in a different generation than I did. One without technology generating anxiety, but also one less open about emotions and mental health. I saw parts of myself in his life story, running home with the varsity uniform, a similar father-son conflict dynamic, and my mom was the worrier too. I revisited Stoa at a stressful point in his life. Basketball season was often hectic. In addition, his son was a player and graduating that year.
I am the father of a senior, so my days are roller coasters as I count down to a new life change. Coaching your kid is rewarding, but it's not easy. There can be some lines that blur and some gray area to all of that in what the communication piece is like. But it also, we get to celebrate in a lot of things together because of the privilege of the position that I have as well.
Stoa had been so busy. He overslept and arrived late to the first interview, which may be where I saw myself in him the most. I invited him over to my grandma's house for dinner. At this point, I was feeling the stress of the documentary and eventually addressing our conflict. As with most of my conversations, I couldn't help from talking about movies that were on my mind.
I'm gonna like list some movies from last year. I just want to like hear your like awareness of them.
Okay.
Have you heard of The Holdovers? The Zone of Interest?
Zone of Interest. I heard about that one.
American Fiction?
Less than zero awareness.
Poor Things.
Nope.
Emma Stone jumps off a bridge. She's pregnant, and a scientist puts the baby's brain in her.
I'm not sure I'd run to that one. I like Emma Stone, though.
Anatomy of a Fall. All of Us Strangers.
I must be busier than you.
Oh, that one's in Past Lives.
Zero awareness.
I saw that this summer, and it's about two childhood friends that are reunited. I remember thinking a lot about what past lives I'm currently leaving behind. Like, what would my life look like if I was in MSUM right now, or NDSU?
Butterfly effect type stuff.
What are your things that you think about, like, all this could have been?
What if we hadn't moved, in Thompson? There'd have been a lot of misses from that. And I'm definitely, in hindsight, happy with the move my parents made too. But it always leaves you with questions.
I talked to him about family, since that was also on my mind.
My mom and I, in junior high, around the time of the moving, there's a lot of fights between us. I think any sign of me growing up made her really stressed. When my sister told me a lot about my mom's backstory, the main thing was, I remember the main thing was she didn't always get the love that I kind of get all the time.
Yep.
It suddenly made a lot of sense because some of the reasons she couldn't always communicate her love is because maybe she didn't always get that. And that clicked with me. It was like, I started completely differently. And there was another memory. Why does this happen? This never happens.
You're all right.
I just feel so guilty about not being close to home. How can I... Let me get my voice out a little bit. I've never actually done this in a while.
Yeah, you're all right.
I had mentioned guilt about leaving home before, but never choked up over it. Something I probably needed to do. We ended the night by going back to the gym to shoot some hoops.
How do you deal with race day anxiety?
My anxiety came from being long, lanky, a lot of LBs ago, and racing and getting spiked or tripped inside of a pack. And so I would run out front of them. Then I'd be gassed. If there was any anxiety for me, it was to do the anti-anxiety thing, which was I stopped listening to anything but piano music before races. But I didn't ever really get too worked up on race day to the point of anxiety paralyzing my ability to compete.
What do you think the step for me is?
One of the things, Stephen, I think I realized about you, and I probably realized it too late, and it caused some of the frustrations, is that you needed running, you never needed racing. With you, we saw you as a guy who put in 400 summer miles and was putting down those amazingly quality workouts. We just always looked at you without really investigating any harder, and we just kept wanting to try to get you to break through and race. But I'm not sure that that's exactly why you needed the sport. Your return on investment was the mental health associated with going for a run, and then to be around your friends socially. But then when it came to race day, that wasn't where you were getting your return from. You were getting your return everywhere else.
It's called curly fries.
No matter what I say, they're gonna spin this.
I had reunited with my friends for some pizza and practiced interviewing with them before I met with Stoa to discuss our conflict.
He would talk about how, like, all over the place you were. Oh, Steven messed up the route. Or like, oh, he's late because he's tying his shoes. Who knows where Steven is? He's all over the place.
That kid runs around everywhere. Does he ever walk? That's just how you kind of lived your life in high school. It's just like running around.
I was in many school activities, usually at least 10, and leadership roles in at least 4. This stress carried into races, and combined with my thoughts of insecurities, future disappointments, personal struggles, health problems with my eyes. Yeah, wow, there is a lot wrong with me. My mind was everywhere. Senior year had the added guilt of leaving home for college. That year, I almost quit. I had many mediocre races and was wondering, am I making my team worse as a bad example? I stayed with the team and glad I made the choice. And as mentioned earlier, I ran a horrible last race to end my senior season. Later that week, I made an Instagram post. I never did like running, but I genuinely loved coming to practice every day. I'll miss everyone I met through cross country. The following week, I heard from teammates and the assistant coach that Stoa was not happy. He said it was nasty, and I was a bad example of the program. I saw how it could be read wrong, but I thought it was clear that there was so much love in that post. And I was mad he seemingly ignored it. It hurt and affected me for a while. Revisiting this conflict had me remember others from my last years of high school. Except these ones, I was significantly more upset at myself for how I handled them. In junior year, I impulsively quit band after minor frustrations with my teacher, but mainly because I felt disconnected from my friends. I barely gave him notice or reason.
So I was just shocked that you would even consider dropping the class. You were curious, you had initiative, you wanted to get better, but you never quite felt settled where you were. You played trombone for a number of years, felt like trumpet would be a better fit, felt that percussion would be a better fit, always moving, always in motion. I remember just thinking or hoping that you would find the place where you felt like you belonged in the band room.
Senior year, I was a student council president, and directly after my final race, we hosted a new event that created a lot of stress. I was the wrong kind of commanding, and a poor leader for my advisor.
What I gathered about your headspace at that point was probably, what is going on? How is this happening? Because the communication wasn't really stellar. And so it wasn't working. People were frustrated with the execution of it. It was just not working quite how it should have. So I honestly didn't really know what was going on.
That same year, I lost my passion for speech and was either unfocused while writing or feeling guilty about missing home. I even tried to fake being sick to get out of it.
Sometimes you would just get turning and turning and turning, and then the room pacing and with drinking of the water. There's a lot going on in here that you couldn't press the pause button. We didn't know how much of that was creative genius and how much of that was like anxiety.
Yeah. We were worried about you when you didn't come to school. Where is he? Is he okay?
Mm-hmm.
Every step towards graduation was tough. My conflict with Stoa was just one of many caused by my unaddressed anxiety. I met with a close friend this week who had been with me through many of my conflicts. We've even gone through some together. Someone who could read me well.
Do you think that you had a lot of conflict senior year because you were scared of leaving? And do you think like you avoided the friend group because you knew you were leaving and going far away? Even thinking about like the summer before college, like whenever we would go to a lake, like I feel like you wouldn't be as involved as other years. I just think you weren't in it as much as you used to be when we were like younger. I don't know, I think it's weird that you avoided so much stuff because I always thought like you were like the type of person who did everything and like was ready for everything, but I guess not. Like sure, you were late sometimes, but like that was like Steven, like you're just running around. You remind me of Kelso when you run around the school.
During our conversation, she had told me about something that happened with the friend group a few weeks earlier. They made plans to see a movie that weather canceled, but when they went to go see it again, she never knew about it.
But they never even asked like me or a couple other people. Like it just hurt and it sucked, but like it just reminded me that like you always were the person to invite me to things, especially like movies. Like you're always like, I think you'd really like this, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, because not gonna lie, you have a weird taste in movies.
I must go punch that baby.
Like you have an acquired taste, I guess. I don't get them always, but like I feel like it was really a moment where I was like, I miss Steven being around here, just because I feel like I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry.
It's okay. I basically a couple of days ago. No, you're good. But
Like I just feel like
we're good. I didn't cry that one time because there's light shining on me, but you know, my eyes are always like.
No, I know. I don't know why I'm crying either. But like it just sucks like not having like everybody around anymore. Like because I feel like the dynamic of the friend group when you and Ian are gone is just different.
Yeah.
But like I always appreciated you.
In pictures, I notice I tend to be on the outside. I sometimes think about how easy it would be to crop me out, and if it would be better that way. I think conflict can do that to all of us. Having this moment with Afton made me feel like I could be better for people. Conflict can make us realize that too.
Have you ever seen me do a speech before?
Yeah, we brought the sixth graders over to introduce them to speech. And you gave your speech on names and where they came from. And I remember going, man, that was super clear. And I understood where that came from. And I'm like, where did he think of the topic? That felt obscure to me, because it's not necessarily how my brain works. But then just also, man, that was quiet Stephen, up there.
Well, I have a speech for you right now. You're gonna have to bear through a speech intro. So,
you do you.
Forrest Gump's mom once told him, "There's an awful lot you can tell about a person from their shoes." During my cross-country years, you could tell plenty about me from my shoes. They're often found like this, untied, which you like to remind me of a lot. It seemed like every time you looked at them, they were somehow untied again and again and again. You were never sure why. And I think this says plenty about our relationship. Today, I'm going to tell you everything I should have during those years. Now, I'm not diagnosed with anxiety or depression, but I do have a lot of the symptoms. I can usually channel this hurt into speeches and stuff, but I never could do that with cross-country for some reason.
I reiterated the conflict from my perspective, my mind being everywhere, the Instagram post, and then I phrased my feelings like I learned in my class.
When you said I was a bad example of the program, it made me feel like I made the wrong decision to stay on the team. I felt like I had made them worse, and it subsequently made me feel like I was making everyone in my life worse. Whether it was teams I had, or activities, or my friend group, and my parents. It contaminated my mind throughout the year. And it made me feel frustrated that I never heard it from you. And I wish I would have told you about my feelings earlier. And I also wish you would have told me too. Okay. Now this past week, we've talked about what could have been, the discussions we could have had. But the reason I'm here this week is not because of what could have been. It's because of what did happen. In 6th grade, I was the quiet kid, and I had been throughout all of elementary school. You told me that I should join cross country. I didn't even know what cross country was at that point, but I listened to you. By joining cross country, it changed my life. I never would have met the same people I would have met through speech. I learned so much about being mentally tough that didn't exactly work with cross country, but it carried me throughout high school. Without you, I may still have been that quiet kid all throughout high school. We never had that breakthrough during cross country, but I hope we can have one now. All right.
Thank you. I mean, the big thing is whether we have in relationships, whether you have the conversations in the moment or whether you get to eventually have them, they need to be had. Okay? Let's go to the Instagram post.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't remember my quote. I do remember my frustration. Part of that process in my head was you always attempted and were very successful at times of recruiting people to the things you loved. You had an amazing ability to get your friends to believe that what you do was a lot of fun. And part of that just comes through in that it's bigger than running, it's bigger than basketball, it's bigger than whatever sport or activity you're in because the social parts of it matter. The crappy parts of it matter because then you grow when you come out of them. To have you say, well, I never really liked running. That hurt. To have that statement out there was one of those things. It's like, did I just, in basketball we would say, God, did I just lose the locker room? And so that was kind of where the frustration came from our side. There was a lot of disappointment in that because we thought that we had exhausted as much as we could to try to help you succeed. And then that one line, all the rest of it made total sense to me. But that one line was like, man, was that the crack in the foundation that's going to take us a little bit longer to build from? No excuses from my part, because adults screw up all the time. And our job is to make the environment comfortable enough for kids to
understand that the relationship is strong enough for them to come tell us when we screw up too. I probably got sidetracked by basketball because the two seasons butt up against each other, and I'm running around trying to figure things out, and I didn't take the time to share my emotions, nor did you take the time to share your meanings behind the post. But I've been through this for a couple decades. I take more of the blame on that.
The conversation that followed was tame, calm, and like a cross-country race, kind of boring. But I'm glad. In the hours leading up to our talk, I was worried about ways it could go wrong. But I think this was destined to play out smooth from the moment I called him a few months prior, and was vulnerable.
What if we had this conversation junior year? How do you think that would have changed our senior year?
Oof, that's a tough one. I would have hoped simply that it would have taken your race day anxiety away. I don't know if this conversation would have taken away any of the other things that were bouncing around in your mind. We would have had to actually talk about those so that you don't have to have those thoughts pinballing around in your mind on race day, or when you were trying to organize something for student council, or when you were trying to get ready for band, whatever else that you were trying to do. I don't think it was probably just race day. I think it was trying to complete something. And I could give any advice on some of those things, I'd have said have that conversation.
I've been sorry this whole time, but now I just want to finally say it to you. Normally, throughout some of these other incidents, I tend to have like kind of an avoidance thing, like I would quit things or I'd like leave them, but this one is different. I tended to get more like dominating cross country. It kind of played into that too. Just kind of added extra fuel for me to like get this done. Like, I need to do this to prove myself. I want to apologize now. I felt disconnected from my friends, and I think in a sense I took that out on you a little bit. I think that's one of my bigger regrets. Like, I miss by not going to practice as much. I kind of lost that last year with you too. I didn't get to see you as much. Yeah. Felt a little bad about that.
Facing those difficulties and those conflicts can be a release valve and let you get to a starting line for any race, figurative or literal.
The way that you avoided things made it seem like you didn't care, which I don't think that's what you wanted to do. And I think that's why all of us were confused, because we just didn't know.
Yeah, I had no idea. And looking from the outside in, I would have never suspected that. So that makes a lot of sense.
I appreciate that, Stephen. I don't think that you have anything to apologize for. I saw you as a guy who was really driven and needed to find your own way towards figuring out how to be a better leader.
One thing that we agree on is that it's about the student, not about the speech. So if you would have come to us, we would have loved you through it.
People want to love you, Monk. You should let them love all of you.
Know that you got people that have your back, that support you.
Do you still like the Ubuntu font?
It's the only one I use. How did you even remember that font?
It's the only font I use.
That's one of those weird things that you catch that no one else catches.
What does it mean?
Boston Celtics 2008, that was their word for teamwork and constant growth.
We have a phrase called Ubuntu. I can't be all I can be unless you are all you can be. A person is a person through other people.
For me as I attempt to break the sub-5 for the mile.
Legacy, I guess. What do you want to be able to tell your friends or your family or your kids someday?
do, Steven, since you were a 7th grader out for cross country, we've always talked about the journey. Talked about controlling the controllable and enjoying the journey and the process of everything. Within our journey, we get smaller journeys as a way to be in clear mind and light shoulders in order to go perform at your best ability. In this journey, people that have always been riding with you, this is the time to let them help you get through.
Do you think you're making decisions differently now based on what you learned from that?
And that an event like today and this opportunity for you is a great way of, building that confidence for you to go out and just control what you need to do.
All right. This is something that's been on my mind, like, forever. It's finally time to talk about it.
You know what? Maybe I do like running. I was just short of my goal of under 5 minutes, but I had just run the fastest I had ever ran. I felt way too good to be disappointed. But this wasn't about the time, the destination, or even the journey. Well, it was about the journey, but more importantly, it was about going the distance. On the track and in my relationships, conflicts are inevitable. We must take those seats and be intimate and vulnerable with those we care about. I can't promise that this will fix everything, or that it will be easy, because it's going to hurt. Relationships are like cross-country races. They require physical or emotional pain to bring them to the next level. No matter how many miles away you are, you can still be close. Rekindle something that once was. If you work hard and you're kind in addressing your conflicts, you will be miles ahead from where you started. So many miles.